Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the TF Cast. My name is Willis.
Hey, Zach here. Today is March 2nd, 2022, and it is Jacob's birthday.
Today with us, we have Abigail Kimble here to present her or talk about her upcoming show at the 410 Project, Recent Works of Arc, which is her artist name, Abigail or Arc. Please take a moment to introduce the show and yourself. Tell us what people are likely to see and what the experience is going to be like.
Hi, I'm Arc. You can refer to me in public as Arc or Abigail Rain or Boss Ass Bitch or Queen. I go by all of the following. I have a show at the 410 that you should definitely come by and see. It's basically just a lot of crazy stuff. That's a culmination of my perspective on my life. Celebration of life, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. What kind of mediums are you working with?
I'm working with, well, first of all, am I looking at the camera or you?
You can look at the camera or me. Either is fine.
If you address the camera, it will appear as though you're addressing the audience. If you're having a conversation with us, you can just look at us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I use acrylic and wine and hot sauce and anything that I'm like a bird, like making a nest for spring. So I just like acquire small, cool things and then add them to my paintings gradually over time.
Yeah, like some of the paintings. I've seen them all. I need to get this out of the way. I've seen all the paintings, so like I'm going to talk about some of them in that way.
Yeah.
Some of them have like, pieces of cloth or string or like other things attached to them. Is that something that you've always done, or like when did you start adding 3D objects to,
Yeah. I from off the bat, I want to say no. Like I haven't done that until the last like 2 years, I'd say. But then that's not true because I have the main piece at the show, the mama piece called Love is a Tree. It's my biggest mixed media work that I've done over 7 years. And there's like stuff on there that I had just glued on. No. Oh, watermelon juice is at the base layer of that. My roommates and I in college stole some watermelons from Trader Joe's in St. Cloud. And then I threw them at the canvas. Yes.
And 7 years later, it's been layered on top of, and all right.
Yeah, but you could probably find the original tracing of juice, and then now I'm going to go to jail because I just told them I stole the watermelon.
I don't think Trader Joe's is going to come after
They're
you
not?
too
Okay.
hard. At least not on account of this. But you said you had a piece that's coming back from like as far as 7 years, and you've kind of talked about some like your perspectives, how a lot of this stuff is like deeply personal, or it comes from perspectives on life. It goes. What are you working from when you start a piece, or like how do these pieces come? I mean, you're not painting a bowl of fruit necessarily, you know what I mean?
No.
Yeah. I'm trying to impart into the audience some kind of idea of what they might see.
Yeah. So my process, I think maybe there's been 2 paintings in my whole life that I've like outside of school, like actually drawn out before painting on it. But for the most part, I've used art as therapy since the beginning of time. So what that looks like is I get some type of material that I like, and canvas or a journal, or I think I've used multiple. Oh, bark. I like bark of trees sometimes. And I just get all the emotions on there that I'm feeling at the time. I just kind of let it out. And then my favorite part of the whole process happens like right after that, when you just start seeing a shape. Like I like to call it intuitive art. I don't know. I try and like see shapes in like find realistic things out of the emotions that I'm feeling. And then all of my pieces expand from there over time.
Sure. It really seems to me as if when you're talking about your relationship with art and how you talk about it being therapy, it also is a large part of your like exterior persona. You know, like most of my interactions with you have been entirely through the arts community, whether or not like I was. But for example, like when I showed up to take photos, like I was like, oh, that's a guitar. And I didn't assume it was yours, but it's the guitar that you play. When did you know that the arts were kind of going to be the thing, or like, you know?
From like 3, probably.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then education.
Education wise, like choosing that as a career would be, I think I decided like junior year of high school when everyone was like, what are you going to do with your life? And I was like, well, I like to make art and I like to make people happy and like heal them or like try and fix them. It's a whole thing. But yeah, art therapy is my decided major. And I decided that probably, junior year of high school. I started wanting to be an art teacher, and then I went into art therapy instead.
How does the study of art therapy change the way that you look at your own artistic processes?
I would say I've never like taken an actual art therapy college course. So like that's the thing that's hard with that major is there's not like, that's not an option. Like I take psychology and I take art. So I only know from what I've read from like my little books that I'll buy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Then maybe it's more the study of psychology kind of being applied or something like that. Than specifically an art therapy framework.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Like I'm trying to think like I don't know any of the exact like tools or like phrases. There's a whole smorgasbord of vocabulary that's like goes alongside with that I don't have, but I have the feeling and like the general understanding of this is providing expression, which is in and of itself is catharsis, which in and of itself is therapy. You're releasing an energy from your body that needed to move.
One of the things that I was thinking of was like some kind of an empathic like art expression that I feel like I've seen you do on a couple of in a couple of situations where you like kind of catch a vibe from a space and really just put that on paper and kind of turn that into a visual representation of what was going on too. So I appreciate the kind of feel you have for that sort of stuff and being able to draw from that kind of inspiration.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's catchy to be an empath now or like a nice label to have. But if an empath is feeling all the things fully and in depth, then yeah, that's just what I've been doing since I was 3.
And you've also gotten into music as well more recently. Not what your 410 show is going to be about, I'm pretty sure, but so you're a multi-disciplined artist, I suppose you could say then as well.
Oh yeah.
What's the spread of your projects look like, and what are you kind of exploring these days?
I was trying to write a list out, I think a couple days ago, of like my identity or like words that I want to now define me, especially trying to release the identity that I had as a child. You know, we're in our 20s. I don't know. I'm in my 20s now, and that's the big thing is how much of your childhood are you allowing to claim your identity? And from that list, I'd say like I'm a poet, I'm a lyricist, I'm a musician, I'm a artist of all mediums. If I don't know, art, anything that's expressive, I can be on board.
Well,
or
it-
creative or aesthetic. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems to me you have a lot of energy to bring other people on board. Maybe just take a moment and talk about some of the other things that are going to be happening on the show. I mean, everyone here is involved, so let's get that into the air too. But I also there. To me, one of the things that I thought was really remarkable about that was like the degree of trust that you placed in other people to allow any amount of context into work that and I hope everyone comes and sees the thing, is extremely personal. So like to me, that was like a meaningful thing. But anyway, just like, bring out, like, let people know about the other stuff that's going on at the show, and we can talk about that stuff too.
Yeah. So Jacob I've asked him to make sound for my paintings. Zach told me that he does synth stuff, and I'm like super, super into that. I don't know. That's just like binaural beats, meditative stuff. And what Jake showed me was nothing that I had expected. but with that being said, I loved it. I loved it because he like somehow found like the grid work and like the patchwork of like the seam of the canvas and like went from the ground up and like explained it in his perspective. And solely because he thought about things so much and like put so much energy into it. And like, I don't know, you said you were thinking about, what were you thinking about when you were like looking at the pieces?
Well,
because I felt a lot of feeling. There was a lot of like you had thought a lot about it.
I had context because I had done the stuff with the photography. So I knew the general subject matter of the show. Like I knew that a lot of it had to do with your siblings and your parents and like this childhood stuff and sense of identity and like just all of those things. And we talked about a lot of the paintings as they were photographed too. So I took that information and then I just imagined why you chose the things you did and like what the painting looked to create. Like, I don't think you would have, presented it to someone without some kind of something to be taken away. And I just hoped I was right, really. And it was spending a lot of time looking at it and, trying to come away from it. And it's hard to describe without just showing the work. And like I said, you just have to come, see and hear. The paintings are very, emotionally impactful on their own.
Yeah.
You certainly won't be missing anything by missing me, but I encourage you to come to the opening night too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's doing that thing, and I'm so grateful to him for providing another sensation to this experience. I've like always had I told you guys this. I've always had a dream of like a 5 or 60 like gallery that you walk into, and it's just like smell, taste, like everything is just being affected, and everyone's gonna see it differently. Like even if there's like a smell of lavender in the corner, someone could associate that with like, well, that's like the sign on 410. Image is not a horse, but now it is. It's a brain game. So I've always been super interested in that. And then now you told me what you did, and it's like, and now Willis is doing the lighting for it. And we haven't talked about that yet. So please, you can talk to me about what you chose.
Yeah. Well, we'll be, lighting in a gallery is kind of an interesting thing. So I've been thinking a lot about how to approach that with getting, maybe using a balance of the existing lights to illuminate the work. But then I've got some LED lights for like stage and stuff that I think, and when we were practicing some things, it was really interesting to see the way that the colors of the artwork would change as the light shifted from like a red to a blue, and it could really turn a piece of work from like something. It almost felt like you could extend the story through that. And so I think that there's what I was noticing with the artwork, And this is really the first time I'm kind of doing something like this. So
That's what I was going to ask you.
It's like a real exploration of like what you can do with light, because I don't think I've like applied it to a physical object in this way before. But what you see is that like it pulls different things out depending on which color you shine on it. And so kind of what I've done is a couple of the primary pieces, I've kind of identified colors that would go well with them. And then I'll program my system to kind of either flow through those colors or kind of like push and pull in and out of them as either with sound or with just like a pre-programmed pattern. And so I'll be able to kind of accentuate different parts of each piece kind of over time, or just highlight a piece kind of from the others. So I'm playing around with a couple options like that, but it's been really cool to
mess around with it.
Yeah, to imagine and to think about. And I was really impressed. I guess credit to the artwork, probably, like just even the way that it responded so naturally well to the light. I think that was really, really cool.
Yeah. You had said responding to the light, and I had almost used that as like a title for the whole damn show, because I had been struggling to find one. And like you said, all the pieces responded physically well to it, but if you know me, I'm going to bring everything to a metaphor or abstraction. That's just how it's going to work. Every single piece that I created, there was some... I myself am always in this like struggle between darkness and light. I think everyone is, regardless of the ins and outs of religion and yada yada yada, dark and light, like that's, we can just call it that. And a lot of my pieces there, you can see that journey and that like visceral side of like, I don't know, crying out to God, or like asking for something better, or just needing a little bit of light. And oftentimes through creating the pieces, I was able to capture some, or like get through something a little bit easier just by expressing the darkness. Yeah.
Something I really admire, and I'm slightly biased for reasons people may know, but I've always really admired how like you start a piece, you have no idea what you're going to do, you put something on the canvas, and then you are very willing to just either change that or go completely over it or make it into something new. And then the other side of that, as like someone who's a musician and like someone who creates things, the willingness to like not know what you're creating till you're done seems very scary. Could you speak to like how that process is, and could you also speak to like, is that really scary? Do you like, at what point do you like kind of know what's going on, or do you just kind of go into it like, I could restart a painting completely today?
Yeah. So, that's a big one. What was the first part of that question?
Yeah, so I could phrase it better. So like when you go into a project and you have no idea what you're going to do, you said earlier that you kind of just like put your emotions on. Is there like a way you like to start that? And then also, how do you, is it stressful to just like be willing to change something at any second, or to just kind of be doing stuff and like you don't even know when you're going to be done because you don't even know what you were doing when you start?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm a Gemini. I thought I was like the pioneer of change and spontaneity and like letting things go and releasing it and whatever. And I found out my inner child and like who I actually am. I hate releasing things and I hate change. And it's a real struggle to like let things be. I just want to like keep moving it and touching it and yeah. So that in and of itself, it's just been the trusting the process. Like the story that's coming to mind, or like the understanding of this that's coming to mind, is I had a professor that was from sorry if you're going to watch this, El Salvador or Ecuador, in college. And I only bring that up because I went to St. Cloud State University, and there's like, you only get a couple POC teachers that are like cool. You know what I'm saying? Or even any of them are cool just for being POC, but that, like the actual cool ones. And this guy was like super, he had studied in many different places. Like I think he had been to like China or Beijing and just had all the degrees under his belt and had just chosen to be like a sub for this class. And he had us work with this constantly. Like it was a mixed media course, actually, now that I'm thinking of it. We would like, for example, spray paint his car. We'd have to make like stencils, like our own stencils, like spray paint his car, take pictures of the car and like the whole experiment, and then upload them to like Lightroom, and then like add distortions of like a sound backwards that we like really like, and then like keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Just random content until somehow it made sense. Like, and that was really uncomfortable for me. But I was like, okay, like whatever, we can do this. And the tipping point was he had us like draw a self-portrait, and like every artist, like you're your own muse, like for a little bit. Like you've only ever seen your face in the mirror so many, like it's just deeply ingrained, like your work is gonna look like you. And I had drawn a self-portrait, and everyone had put like 30 minutes into these. And he's like, all right, give it to the person on your left. And I was like, okay. All right. So they're just going to like add a border. Like, no, it was like by the end of it, every single one of my classmates had touched this piece of paper that I had put so much intention into. And then we did coffee painting over it. And then the next time we brought them all outside and like made a massive group collage. And it was like things I could never have done. It made a type of art I could have never made by myself, like solely through the connections that I had with the people around me was the work that occurred like possible. I couldn't have never done that. Like, so that just like proved to me that like, okay, pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and like releasing a thing or just letting it be like is way, 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 way more beneficial in the long run, for deeper understanding and then for ultimately growing, which I'm going to have a lot of years to do that and keep doing that.
Do you think any of that that community stuff kind of like played forward into where you are now?
For sure.
So additionally, I'd like to talk about some of the, you've made a few references to like different religious practices or kind of like metaphors for spirituality and things like that. And it's visible in a lot of your work and just kind of apparent in your speech. Could you take some time to talk about why those things are important to you, or like what path you're on, like what's going on?
What's going on? So spiritually, I would define myself as a in-rooted Christian. Like I was raised that way. I still use it as a lens to perceive my world day to day. It's very controversial now to like still be Christian and like also be queer. Dear God, now the internet knows that too. But that's like, I don't know. This is like the part that I was most nervous about sharing, and had to keep like pep talking myself about. Because there's parts of your identity that are just like non-negotiable. Like, I don't know. Yeah. So from that lens, like growing up, I also have a joke that I was just like born in the hand of God. And I'm learning now, like from like a trauma stance, like as a kid, I would be what you'd call like an HSP, which is a highly sensitive person. It just means that you like feel the depth of things and are like hyper aware of like body language and like whatever. And it can be seen by like other family members that you are like special or angelic or like some type of like higher than self elevation. Because, for example, I just watched this YouTube video that gave an example of that. Like, say me and you went to coffee and there was like light coming through the window that was hitting you in the face. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to go and close that because I can tell that that's making you uncomfortable. Like, that's the first thing that's processing in my mind is like, how am I? I notice the person I'm engaging with is uncomfortable. How can I make them comfortable so we can like move forward, you know? So I would go and close that. And now I have to be at a point where like I notice that and I see that and like I don't have to be the one to go and close it. Like you can just do that for yourself if you're bothered, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm very spiritual. See the world that way. I see the world intensely in color. Even like reading books and painting, creating, all the things. It's just all like a deeply intense inner world, if that makes sense. And God, fuck, I don't know if that's because of the trauma or just because of like who I am, you know? And that's the whole reason I'm having this show. And like a big theme of the show is your childhood identity. And like, I don't know, how much are we going to keep with us? How I get to write the narrative now, you know, like I get to choose who I am. And yeah, I'm a Christian and I'm queer. And yeah, that's what I got.
Well, we're here for it.
Yeah.
Does some of, and so your artwork now feels like you're exploring that, processing a lot of that, and kind of
Yeah.
feeling out which parts you want to keep, which you want to throw away.
Exactly. I've told Zach that I'm like, there. Do you guys know? Are you familiar with like the cheese run races in Ireland?
Yeah, they push the wheel down the hill and they
block
chase
of
after
cheese.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's like a documentary about this, and there's a woman that's like the pro cheese faller, grabber, whatever.
Sure.
And she falls down this hill so well. She's just like whoop, whoop, like using the inertia to just like keep moving. And I've just find her very inspiring, and that's what I've been thinking about. Like, if I'm gonna keep fucking falling over these triggers and like life and cars and finances and all the things, like I just gotta get really good at learning how to keep moving, falling good. Take it gracefully, right?
She looks so happy too, even on
She
that
does.
one where her shoulder is like
Just
broken.
dislocated.
She broke her collarbone and she's just like,
Yes.
So, in as long as we're tumbling forward, what is what's the future of ARC looking?
It's your birthday. You get just one today.
Jasmine says none.
Okay, unrelated to the cheese wheel. What's next?
Tumbling forward. What were you going to say?
What's next? I mean, the show. It's kind of like there's a good amount of context, and it's a coming of age, expression of self kind of thing. But is that the beginning of a chapter or closing one?
Yeah. So I wanted with all of my heart to have this be the opening and closing show, like my only show about my family or my trauma. Like I wanted every show after this to just be like, oh, I checked that shit off the box. I expressed myself through that trauma. Look at all the hours I put in to not like popping off on family members or feeling some type of way about anything. Like that was good channeled energy. Yeah. Unfortunately, apparently the shit just sticks around. and we just have to keep cycling through it. Like, I have a feeling I'm going to keep making. Obviously, I'm going to keep making art about my childhood trauma forever. So it's a disappointment that it wasn't a closing show on one thing. Yeah. You got chapstick too? What was the original part of the question?
Oh, it was just about where it was going, where the not just the project necessarily, but with your additional projects or like any other aspirations you have for making an impact on the arts community here in Mankato.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that blah 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 blah. I do need to let you guys know the main piece in the show was started with me trying to be in art therapy, and like, I don't know, I just really want to talk about this tree because it does move into that question, that the secondary question about like how I want to move forward in Mankato with connections as well. Yeah, so there's this big old tree if you come to the show that's got like ropes for branches and a super hyper realistic like trunk with water. I posted it on my Instagram if you want to go check it out. But should I like drop my Instagram at too?
Yeah, go for it.
No, I was at the Hughes of She if you wanted to go check it out. I'm sure the whole town already knows me, but yeah, this one piece I had started solely like in the middle of the dead of winter of 2021, started art therapy, just got out of like a toxic ass relationship, and I was like really going through it. And so you should have seen the original stuff that was on this piece, like just like nasty browns and oranges and reds and yellows and all the colors, but not nice colors. Just a lot of yuck on there. And through the process of every time, I'd only allow myself to touch that piece if I was like going through something specifically with my family, or that I actually ended up finishing it when you guys were at my house for Jared's birthday party. And that was like what needed to happen, I feel like, because I got the energy of connection, which a tree is all about the roots of connection. Okay, I have like 5 different layers of my life I want to now share, but yeah. What was I telling you about the tree?
Connection to the community and the arts going forward.
Yeah. So this tree ended up being a poem by Rumi, and it goes, "Love is a tree with branches in forever, roots in eternity, and a trunk nowhere at all." And ever since I was young, I really like sequoias that have like, they grow like to 2,000 or 3,000 feet tall, and they only have 20 feet of roots. So the only way that they can survive is like latching on to their neighbors. And they're like the oldest living organisms on the earth. And that's the only way that they've survived, is like through connection. Love them. Yeah, so like the fact that you guys are helping me, and the fact that I moved to Mankato and like found this fucking crazy art community. Like, I'm so sorry, but the perception I had of Mankato moving down here was Rape Nation. That's like what it was, like sex assault city. That's I'm so sorry, but like that's what everyone told me, and I was like, but like they look like they have a lot of cool kayaking trails and rivers and stuff. I'm just gonna try it. Yeah. And I found this like little pocket of people that exist that are like really awesome. Like really awesome. Like actually cool people that care about uplifting each other through the art space. And like apparently that's not normal. Like I have a friend from South Africa named Robin, who is also an artist, and I like call her to get information, and she was sharing some of her art stories and like ideas with me, and she's like, gosh, it's so refreshing like talking with you, because like the art climate sometimes can be like really competitive, and like you can't even like share something apparently without people stealing that information or like trying to build their own thing off of your ideas or your energy. And I'm like, I've never experienced that like talking with anyone, especially in the community of artists that I'm in right now. Like I've never had to worry that you're gonna take something of mine and like expand on it and call it your own, you know?
Yeah.
If anything, I'm hoping that like we're inspiring each other, you know, and like
Yeah.
and moving forward, like I don't know, I'm indebted to you guys for giving me like the fertilization for my roots. Like I feel like we're connected now, and now we're like, all right, only place to go is up.
Yeah.
And love, you know,
2,000
love.
feet.
What'd you say?
2,000 feet.
2,000 feet, and we can't
That's a
even
lot of
see
feet. I
the
think
love.
it might be more
there's-
like
And roll
200.
all the
it's
way
actually
down.
it's not 2,000 or 3,000. Now that I think about
Yeah,
it,
that's nearly half a mile.
it's
And then
it was
get up there.
I think it's a couple hundred probably. Maybe 150, 250.
feet.
Let's ask Google.
A mile is 5,280 feet.
Yeah. I think
But-
the trees are probably 100 to 200 feet.
But
Yeah.
like sequoias,
Yeah.
They're huge.
300 feet.
is Jasmine looking
Jasmine,
that
can we get a
up?
250 feet.
Oy. Okay, and then their roots are only 10 or 20. Yes.
Okay.
Right? Wait. Come on. We need full. This is seriously.
Sequoias can grow to be about 30 feet or 9 meters in diameter and more than 250 feet tall.
30 feet in diameter, 250 feet tall.
Oh, wait.
The biggest
pretty wild.
of these behemoths is General Sherman, a giant
General
sequoia
Sherman.
National Park,
Mhm.
stands at 275 feet.
275. Wow.
102 foot circumference.
Whoa. Whoa.
And weighs an incredible 2.7 million pounds.
2.7 million pounds.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a big tree.
That's a big tree.
2.7 million.
Your mom. not Abby's mom, just everyone's mom.
Yeah.
The general.
The
that
general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The royal mom.
Yes. Okay, tumbling forward.
Is the point that you catch the cheese or that you just beat the cheese?
I think it's actually neither. I think it's just like first one down wins.
Okay, so you just
I think the cheese
you
is
win
more
the
like
cheese, right?
you
the
do
cheese
win the
is
cheese.
the prize.
Yep.
Okay.
The point is not dying on the way down and keep moving forward. Otherwise, you're going to get trampled by the people coming behind you.
Oh, sure, that makes sense.
Yes, yeah.
Well, we appreciate the contributions you're making to the community as well, and we like to see. I mean, it's really I've been inspired by the way that you approach art projects, and like I've shown up just for no reason at your crew's house before, and then been like roped into a wonderful and elaborate painting project on like I think more than one occasion.
Yeah.
So it's just it's cool. It's cool to have friction with someone who's like doing it differently, or who's like kind of pushing the boundaries of what even I don't know, like friendship expectations are, or like art projects. Not in like
Damn!
Okay.
He said you're expecting a little too much.
social
of me,
expectations. I'm getting the sense that didn't go over exactly
It
how
was great. It was great.
not exactly how I intended it.
I
Um,
understand. I understand.
Yeah, maybe it's like social collaborative. There's something there that's pushing
I
it.
think we all know.
Yeah. Art good.
Aye. That's some good art.
I like that it's pushed me outside of my comfort zone a couple times, and that's been good too. So thank you for that.
You always bring yes, half of it is just like seeing people enjoy themselves. Like I don't know, I feel like you forget that even though you're not like a professional painter, you can just
Yeah.
do the thing.
Well, I think it's like a barrier to entry thing. A lot of people do feel like, the title of an artist or something has always been something that they're like not. And to like pick up a paint and try and make a painting, that would be like being an artist, which you're not.
No.
So not you.
Oh, I'm not.
Which I'm not. So it'd be hard for me to imagine doing that.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't feel like I struggle with that as much as I maybe used to, but it's exciting to be around those environments where people who probably don't feel like they're artists might be like getting to try it out and getting to see whether it works well for their life.
Yes. And I think it works well with everyone's life. I think it's a necessity to
Yeah.
have creative endeavors, even if they're pointless and they seem pointless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they're even more pleasurable when they're, not directly monetized in a lot of ways. Like everyone is an artist, and like I struggled with that too for a long time, calling myself an artist, and then I realized like I don't need to contextualize it for other people, and if they struggle with me being an artist, then that's like really like their problem.
Really though.
Yeah.
Really, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, was there any other community stuff we wanted to get on, or do we want to point people at things? What's next?
I have some exciting teaching opportunities through Sabrina's Safe Relations space, and then also through Mankato Makerspace. So if you,
Well, how about just tell us what those are and what they're going to be like, and then we can segue into like plugs and getting people to the show.
oh wait, literally there's been like 3 emails sent about these things. So like it's, I'm just been asked to teach some type of art thing, probably therapy inclined, with Safe Relations on 4/25, I want to say. And then at the Makerspace, they're doing children's classes every Saturday. And that's like a running list of community members that are also being asked to host arts. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So those opportunities will probably be available in the future, and they can probably be found by following your pages or checking out your projects. Cool. So where should we send people if they want to see what ARC is all about?
Oi. Please go to at the hues of she, the hues being colors of she, .com, just kidding. Instagram, and working on a website. There's also a Facebook page called Artworks that you can find. Yeah.
And the show opens at the 410 Project on the 11th. Cool.
And the kind of opening performance bit of it is 7 to 9.
Yes, it is. 7 to 9 p.m. There's a lot of stuff going on after the fact too. So just come through. Come by.
Mm-hmm. We'll all be there, and we'll shout nice things at you.
Yay.
Bye.
Oh, bye.
Are we not going by?
No, we're going
Oh,
by.
I think we are. Let's all just say bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.